So at the back of the building, we have more of the unfinished work. This side was completed. It's all clad in the block that came from Utah, limestone block. And then at the back, that never got clad in the block. So that is more of the unfinished work that was left here. So come on in, folks. We're going to head to the right. Come on into the assembly room.
Stand with formats, please. Stand with formats, please.
So you're just going to stay on the gray carpet over there. It's going to stay over there. The gray carpet. There you go. Thank you. Okay, keep on coming around, folks. Got lots of people there behind you. Okay, keep on moving through, folks. If you don't mind, just keep coming around this way so we can get everybody in here. And now we've got that gray carpet we need to stay on. Pretty ugly. You can tell the difference there between the nice, ugly gray carpet and the teak floor. All right, got everybody in here. So welcome to the assembly room. This was what Mr. Hearst called his living room. Guests would come through that doorway. A butler would be standing right there, and he would offer you a cocktail. I did say a cocktail. Mr. Hearst was known to be a little restrictive about the alcohol consumption, and all the guests talked about it. They mentioned it in their oral histories and books that they'd written. And so after David Niven put it well, he said that the wine flowed like glue here in San Simeon. But you had 2 hours during cocktail hours to kill before you headed in for dinner. So what would you do? Nursing that one drink. You might play poker over here on this side of the room. And on this side of the room are a few game tables where guests played all kinds of board games like mahjong, Chinese checkers, dominoes, parcheesi. Something else was a big deal back in 1935. Brand new game came out from Parker Brothers. Anybody? Monopoly, exactly. So guests loved to play Monopoly up here on the hilltop like they were all over the country. Your hostess was very good at Monopoly. Her name was Marion Davies. Marion Davies was Mr. Hearst's girlfriend. I said girlfriend, yes. He was married to a Broadway show girl dancer that he met in New York City, and her name was Millicent. They had 5 sons together. But along the way, he met another Broadway showgirl dancer named Marion Davies. Marion Davies became the love of his life. His wife will not divorce him. They could never agree on the terms for the divorce. And so they are separated from 1926 on through to the end of his life, where he did enjoy a very devoted relationship with Marion that lasted all over 30 years, all the way through to the end of his life. So Marion became the primary hostess for the guests that he's inviting up here to the ranch. We've talked about some of the guests. Others worked for him in his publishing business. So he did employ thousands of people. So some of those top editors and columnists, cartoonists, they were all coming here, as well as a gossip columnist who had a lot of fun talking to all the big name Hollywood actors who were present. Mr. Hearst invited all the biggest names at the time, because Marion went on to become a Hollywood actress, so she's inviting her friends. So who are these people? I'll name a few names, we'll see if you've heard of them. Actor Cary Grant, Marlene Dietrich, Greta Garbo, Harpo Marx, Charlie Chaplin, Errol Flynn, Rita Hayworth, Mary Pickford, Jean Harlow. Any of those names ring a bell? Okay, great. Well, if they don't, just think of them as the biggest names of the day. He's also inviting politicians. Prime Minister Winston Churchill was here as a guest before he became Prime Minister. President Calvin Coolidge, post-presidency. There were, besides politicians, there were famous writers, Irish playwright George Bernard Shaw, directors, Hollywood directors. There were musicians. Bing Crosby could have been over here playing the piano. There were aviators like Howard Hughes. All sorts of people. Maybe Hearst wanted to get to know their story or want to get to know them. Or maybe it was just the young boy who sold the most newspapers in San Francisco that year. They all mingled together. If it was a cold day, and it does get cold, it snowed up here in San Simeon 2 years ago for about 2 seconds. Yeah, you could have sat here by the fire, enjoyed the fire for the fireplace. Take a look at the fireplace. I could practically walk inside. Guests talked about how this fireplace consumed whole trees. It's massive. It's carved out of stone. And I call it a double mantle. And it came from France. It's from the 16th century. When Mr. Hearst acquired this mantle, he wrote to Julia Morgan and he said, "I know you will build a hall to receive it." And so she did. It's like the showpiece for this hallway. And this whole hall, by the way, was supposed to showcase a lot of his artwork. The tapestries specifically. She even had to modify the size of the room in order to make these tapestries fit the way Mr. Hearst wanted them to. And then specifically the 4 on the 2 long walls. These 4 are from a series of 10 called the Deeds of Scipio Africanus. They were woven in Belgium and they're from the 16th century. Hearst loved tapestries. He said they were like the headlines of history. They told stories, and he is a publisher. He loves stories. So these are the only 4 that remain of that series, except for a shred of one that hangs in a museum in Cincinnati. If you want to know how significant they are, at the Louvre in Paris, they have copies of these. And here at Hearst Castle, we have the originals. If you look around the room, you can see what else Mr. Hearst is collecting. He loves all sorts of art. We have silver candlesticks, we have bronze sculptures on the tables, antique furniture, tapestries and paintings, and a ceiling. Mr. Hearst collected ceilings. About 5 to 7 of the coffers, the rectangular sections, are originally Italian, 16th century. All the rest had to be manufactured by the craftspeople to go into the rest of the room. So in fact, they're so good, that's why I said 5 to 7, because we don't really know exactly which ones are which. And then all around the room is what you might think of as woodwork. This is not woodwork. These are seats, chairs that came from 15th and 16th century Italian churches. For Hearst, it's decoration. And right here at the end of this choir stalls is a hidden doorway. And when it got to be time for dinner, Mr. Hearst would invite his guests to come in. Come on in.
Wow. She's elegant. I'm a big mouth, so.
Big man, big mouth.
Yeah.
I'm going to go over there so you can hear me a little bit better.
Yeah, when sure we can get another one of some of these.